If you're walking a major red carpet, the standard protocol is simple. You hire a glam squad. You pay thousands of dollars for a small army of professionals to brush, powder, and contour you into a standardized, camera-ready state of perfection. But lately, there is a quiet rebellion brewing. A growing faction of billionaires, royalty, and A-list actors are completely bypassing these elite teams and walking into highly publicized global events wearing makeup they applied themselves. When Kate Middleton married Prince William, an estimated 2 billion people tuned in. She famously painted her own face for the ceremony, proving that even strict royal standards could be met with a DIY approach. Meghan Markle has followed a similar path for her public appearances. Notice the visible fraggles. That is a deliberate shift toward a natural, self-applied aesthetic, skipping the heavy, opaque coverage favored by professional stylists. This choice highlights a direct conflict. Do you want the absolute, guaranteed flawlessness that a hired professional provides, or do you want personal creative control over your own face? That desire for control has historical roots. Vintage cinema icon Sophia Loren actually wrote a beauty book in the 1980s, advising women to ignore generic makeup rules. She urged people to appreciate their idiosyncratic facial features instead of letting a studio technician paint them away. What we are seeing now is a widespread rejection of that glam squad vacuum. These women are proving that mastering your own look requires intimate self-knowledge, not just an expensive, outsourced professional team. This movement breaks down into 3 distinct methods. The first is the budget innovator. By opting to do it yourself, you completely remove the financial barrier to entry that usually defines high-end events. Take Zendaya. In 2016, she walked into one of the most heavily photographed, high-stakes environments in the entertainment industry, the Grammys, and she actually did her own makeup. This chart compares the cost of standard event preparation versus a DIY approach. A standard artist invoice for a night like the Grammys easily hits $2,000, but Zendaya used a $9 True Blend liquid foundation and an $11 True Naked eyeshadow palette. When you add up the individual drugstore products she used, her total materials for the evening cost roughly $50. Her technique is simple but highly effective. She spent years carefully observing professional artists while sitting in their makeup chairs, and then translated those expensive application tricks into methods she could execute herself at home. The Budget Innovator Playbook demonstrates that red carpet elegance is dictated entirely by application methodology and skill, not the retail price of the cosmetics. The second methodology is the creative controller. This approach prioritizes absolute artistic freedom over industry constraints. When you hire a professional artist, they are financially incentivized to make you look conventionally attractive. They lean toward universally appealing, safe, and uniform looks to avoid negative media criticism. That is exactly what musical artists like Gwen Stefani want to avoid. She does her own makeup because she wants bold, rebellious self-expression, not a sterile, corporate-approved face. Musicians like Stefani and Halsey use this DIY method to revive vintage and 1990s scene aesthetics. They deliberately treat their faces as imperfect, experimental art canvases, rather than billboards for cosmetic brands. For the creative controller, owning that creative process and expressing a highly unique personal identity is infinitely more valuable than achieving a standardized Hollywood perfection. The third methodology takes a completely different direction. We'll call it the holistic minimalist. This describes the modern trend of celebrities like Alicia Keys and Shakira arriving at major events virtually barefaced. But a no-makeup look certainly does not mean no effort. There is an immense amount of invisible labor happening here. This trend actually requires intense, holistic lifestyle habits to perform the exact function that traditional foundation and concealer used to handle. Alicia Keys' pre-event routine relies heavily on strict diet maintenance, regular acupuncture, and multi-step hydration masks. These rigorous health practices act as literal replacements for heavy contouring, and they still utilize subtle, strategic hacks. They might apply a tiny bit of lip balm for hydration, or use a felt pen to gently emphasize natural freckles, rather than covering them up with a heavy liquid base. The minimalist playbook shifts a celebrity's investment entirely. Instead of paying for temporary topical coverage for a single night, they invest in long-term cellular skin health. Abandoning the glam squad comes with a clear trade-off. The downside is that you sacrifice that guaranteed, heavily powdered perfection engineered specifically to withstand the glare of high-flash paparazzi environments. But the upside is absolute authenticity. You gain physical comfort and a finished look that actually represents you as an individual. Going back to Sophia Loren, she had a famous anecdote about choosing a lipstick. She noted that you have to account for how the color looks when you smile, a moment of true intimacy that a detached professional might easily overlook while trying to paint a technically symmetrical mouth. This visibility provides a practical proof of concept. When a drugstore product holds up under a stadium-sized spotlight, the observation that a massive budget is a technical prerequisite for quality becomes much harder to maintain. These three playbooks, budget innovation, creative control, and holistic minimalism, each prioritize a different form of agency. They show that while the professional squad offers a specific type of perfection, the DIY approach allows for a reclaiming of the aesthetic process, placing the decision of how to appear in public back into the hands of the individuals themselves.